Alright guys, and welcome to another episode of Tools on Tools. My name is Chris, I'm a baby electrician.
And I'm Joel. I am a journeyman electrician at Power-Tek, and Chris has been shadowing me for the past several months. We're here to talk about SDS drills, and specifically SDS M12 rotary hammer drill, SDS Milwaukee M18 rotary hammer drill, and the classic Bosch Bulldog. Now the first thing that you want to think about, the first thing we want to share with you about these drills is when you're hammer drilling, there's always some safety issues to consider. It is our responsibility as workers to assess hazards before we do any work, and there are some associated hazards with using SDS hammer drills. The number one obvious hazard that you're going to think about is these drills create a lot of dust. Okay, so there's a couple ways that we can minimize the amount of dust that comes off there with different drilling collars, with different attachments that we can put on, even attach a vacuum to minimize the amount of dust that's coming down. But always, no matter what we're doing, when we're using these drills, we're protecting our eyes, we're using safety glasses. If we're drilling a big hole above our head, we might want to consider using a mask to avoid inhaling silica dust, inhaling any kind of particulates that we're going to be creating by drilling above our heads. And the other thing is, if you're doing a lot of overhead drilling, maybe safety glasses isn't the best you can do. You might want to use some goggles that'll actually seal off to your face and ensure that you're not getting any dust in the eyes.
Furthermore, a lot of these hammer drills are quite loud, especially if you're using them in some of the hydro vaults or enclosed concrete spaces that we're working in, where it will reverberate and be even louder. So you want to make sure that you're using hearing protection. In this case, I've got my around ear earplugs, and Joel has some of the disposable single-use earplugs that you got to mash up and stick in your ear. And you want to make sure that you're wearing both of these things before you use the tool.
All right, so getting into these various drills, the first one that I'm going to show you is this one here. This is the M12 SDS Plus rotary hammer drill. It's a Milwaukee fuel tool, and it's quite useful. This thing here, we have on it the regular SDS Plus chuck, which can fit your SDS hammer drill bits, but it does not have the power. It has the availability. You could put this bit into it, it'll fit, but it doesn't have the power to drive this, and you're going to burn out your drill. Okay, so if you're going to do any deep holes or anything bigger than 5/8, I would recommend going up to this one, or for even more power, going up to your actual corded SDS. Okay, it's quite useful in situations like, let's say you're running a lot of conduit, you're putting in anchors, you're putting in a couple hundred of these in a day to fasten your conduit, to fasten, whatever you need, your devices, your device boxes, etc. And you're putting in a bunch of those. Well, why not carry the lightweight, easy to handle, one-handed tool up and down the ladder with you all day, and not have to run a cord like you would for this Bosch Bulldog here. So this thing has some pretty good features. It is limited in that it only has two modes. So mode number one is just straight drill mode. So all this will do is rotate your drill forward or backward. This is not actually doing any hammering. It's not actually gonna penetrate something, like this, cinder block or concrete or brick. It's not gonna do that, but it can be quite helpful. Let's say you get your bit jammed somehow, you hit a rebar in there, and the hammer is stuck. You can turn it to there. It has a forward and reverse. That's switched with this little trigger right here. Will switch you from forward to reverse. Okay, and then it also has your basic hammer drill turn and hammer feature. Okay, which also can be run in forward and reverse. Okay, so those are the two features on it. It has this really nice bright light just underneath here, and as you can see, it extended on the chuck where you can put on a handle like this, or you can add on various attachments that will allow you to contain or vacuum the dust. That's available for this unit as well. Right here, you have a battery light indicator, and this will tell you how your battery's doing. Within this battery, we want to make sure that we're only using Milwaukee brand M12 batteries, okay? You don't
No
want any
knockoffs.
We don't want any knockoffs. Listen to Chris here,
No knockoffs.
okay? They do not have the proper system within to protect your tool. You want to use Milwaukee brand batteries for the best tool life and battery life. Get the Milwaukee one, okay?
Alright guys, so the M12 is awesome for your smaller holes, but if you're going to go bigger than 5/8, you're going to want to go ahead and step up to the M18. This is one of the older models that we've got. It is also a brushless fuel version, but the other ones that we bought more recently are going to look much more like the M12 here in terms of form factor. But the functionality is essentially the same. And you'll notice that as I step up to the M18 size, I also have two more modes on this drill. Both of these modes have to do with the chipper function. So in this case, I've got a paddle bit that is meant to be used with the chipper. It slides on like any other bit. And in this first mode here, I can freely rotate and set where I want the bit to be chipping relative to how I'm holding the tool. And let's say I like it just there, and now I can go ahead and put it in the hammer mode. And the hammer mode will hold it square. You'll notice that it's not going to rotate for me anymore, but it's going to vibrate with the same intensity that it would on the hammer drill mode, and will let me chip out pieces of concrete, pieces of block. We've also got this fancy dancy handle here. So this extended collar, just like on the M12 version, we can also take adapters for the vacuum attachments. But in this case right now, I've got the handle on here. So this particular mode, really all the M18 versions are primarily two-handed tools. And this particular one also comes with a fancy dancy depth gauge. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to pick this bit and this shot, as they are the right size and they go together. And I wanted to make sure that I'm going to go ahead and drill my hole to fit my shot into the concrete block, but I don't want to go punching through to the hollow portion. So I can go ahead and set my depth and eyeball that. Use a measuring tape as well. Make sure that you are nice and precise. And let's say I was going to drill that hole, so I could go ahead and I could put this into the block, like so, and my drill, that spine will hit the block and prevent me from going any deeper. This has the same forward and back rotation, a variable speed trigger, so you can change the speed at which it's rotating, and then in this case, I've got a 5 amp hour battery on here right now. They do, of course, make the smaller, 2-3 amp hour batteries, but on these guys, the 5 is probably the smallest you really want to go.
Hi guys, I'm Brennan. We're on site here. Just wanted to show you an M18 brushless Milwaukee Fuel SDS Rotary hammer drill. It's got all the same options as your typical hammer drill. The only advantage to having this one is the shock absorption when you're hammering. It takes a lot of the vibration out of your hands.
So now, basically the same thing as any SDS drill, okay? You gotta make sure there's slots in these drill bits, okay? So you gotta make sure you find the right spot, just shove it in, give it a little quick test. It's nice in there, ready to drill.
The thing about this is it does still have some limitations when compared to the classic Bosch Bulldog. Now the classic Bosch Bulldog, this is a drill that's been around in a similar form for many, many years. I used this, this was my go-to when I started in the trade, and I was using it for lots of stuff. Before battery technology was where it is today, before we had all these fancy Milwaukee Fuel options that we have today, this was the gold standard as far as portable hammer drills. But it obviously has one main limitation, and that is this cord. This cord, you can't go anywhere without having a cord to plug into. And in some situations, that's great. If you're going to drill a large hole, if you're going to drill several large holes where you might eat through a battery really quickly, if you're going or overheat your drill because it's requires a lot of power, well, you probably don't want to burn this drill out. So you might step up to this one. Okay, so this drill here has definitely more power than this one. If you're looking at drilling, let's say even a hole, a 3/4 inch hole through some really old hard concrete might be quite difficult with this drill. You might find, you might just find it takes you a really long time compared to what you have here, and you definitely don't want to overwork this drill to the point that you burn it out because you didn't grab a plug-in one.
I think it's also worth pointing out that we have bigger versions of the Bosch hammer drill as well, right?
Yeah, so there is also existing Max SDS. And so SDS Max, it has here, you can look at this compared to that, and you have a much bigger chuck, okay? And so once you get over about a 1 inch, I think maybe even an inch and 16th, inch and 1/8, you can get in just your standard SDS Plus size that you'd use with this hammer drill. But once you get over that size, like let's say you're running, a 1 inch conduit through a wall, you're probably going to need to have an SDS Max. So you really want to consider, first when you're going to drill a hole, which drill is going to suit my needs best? Am I just doing, some small mounting holes where I can use this little 12 volt? Am I doing a couple holes larger than 5/8 where I might want to use something a little bigger? I don't have the power here for that. Or am I doing a big hole where I'm going to be drilling through, several inches of hardened concrete where I need to have, some actual AC power to blast through that without wearing out and damaging my nice battery SDS.
All right, guys, so this is our demonstration piece for the SDS hammer drills. Today we're going to go ahead and mount a 4x4 box with a piece of pipe and a connector coming out through the back. As you can see, we've already used the pilot bit to make our first hole. So a couple of reasons why we would use a pilot bit. First of all, accuracy. With the smaller bit, we're able to more accurately predict where it's going to land on the other side, especially if this was a finished wall on the other side. That's very important. And then secondly, and you can see even with this smaller bit, we've already had a little bit of blowout. So on the one side where I've been drilling from, I have a nice clean hole, and then on this other side, you can see that the concrete has just kind of blown out the backside. So by using a smaller bit, going to a larger bit, we can minimize how much blowout we're going to have, which is important, again, especially when we've got a finished wall on the other side. And then also something to consider is that let the drill do the work for you. The more blowout, you're going to get more blowout the harder you push, and if you let the drill do the work, you're going to minimize that blowout. All right, so now that we've got our pilot hole with our smaller bit, let's go ahead and step it up to our larger hole. Keeping in mind that our PPE is very important here. So as you can see, I've got my safety glasses on already, and I'm going to put my hearing protection on for this hole. My handle is rotated around in a position that's comfortable for me to hold the drill while I drill. I'm nice and centered on the hole. I'm trying to keep myself nice and level and square. Make sure that our hole comes out nice and level and square on the other side. And as you can see on the back side of our hole, because we've started with the pilot bit and moved to the larger bit, our blowout is only from the smaller bit. So it's actually quite minimal once you consider the full size of the hole that we're going to. And if I take this pipe and just do a quick little dry fit, you'll see that we're not quite all the way in. So we're just going to put this hammer drill into the drill mode and remount that hole, making sure that we're wearing our PPE as we do so. That should make our hole a little bit bigger, and our pipe fits through nicely now. Now all we have to do is chip out, especially for our connector. So if I take this piece off, I can go here with this guy. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the free spin mode so that I can see and rotate exactly the way that I want this to go. Because I'm going to hold it here like this. Let's put it right there into the hammer drill mode, and into the chipper mode. We're in the chipper mode now. And normally I would probably want to make myself a nice little mark so that I know where I'm chipping. I'm going to go right there like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this guy off. So now we've got everything nice and tight in place. As you can see, you can't even see our hole on the other side. We've made this nice and perfect. So all we're going to go ahead and do now is use the M12 and make our mounting holes for our tap guns, making sure that we wear all of our PPE. There we go. All we would have to do now is use our impact driver, stick a couple of tap guns on there, and we're ready to go.
All right, thank you for watching. This has been our video on SDS and the Milwaukee M12 and M18 fuel hammer drills. I hope that you've learned something from this video and found it informative. Work safe and work smart.